G'day there guys, Marky here, and welcome back to another episode of r/relationship advice. I hope you enjoy today's episode, and with that said, I want you to sit back, relax, chuck a prawn to the barbie, let's get right into it. Posted by user Path Majestic, titled, Planned the office Halloween event, and now I feel like absolute garbage. I was recently hired in an assistant role at a law firm fresh out of college. In comparison to other people in the office, excluding the other assistants, I'm pretty young, 22 female. One of the partners put me in charge of the office Halloween party, so I've been planning everything for about 2 weeks. What I came up with was wearing costumes into the office and an EOD party in the decorated spooky conference room where people in the office paid pumpkins as treats, select mystery coffee pods, different flavors as tricks, and just eat sweet food together while streaming the Charlie Brown special. I got into the office early this morning to decorate the office, and the partner in question got annoyed when she came in and saw what I was doing. Even though I got approval from her, she was disappointed that this is what I went with, described it as incredibly juvenile, and said that I should have gone with something like costumes and going to an office happy hour. She's now confirming with the other assistant in charge of the holiday Christmas party that it is an adult affair, expensive dinner outing, and it seems like I stressed everyone out, and I just feel really embarrassed right now. These office morale activities are important, and now I feel like I'm so deeply in the wrong and screwed everything up. In the comments, OK Control says, "This is why I'm glad I didn't end up working in law, lol. Yeah, you probably should have been more direct with exactly what you were planning. Attorneys aren't going to be painting pumpkins during the workday at the office because the psychopath partner they work for would see it as a juvenile waste of time. It sucks, but take it as a learning experience. I don't think it's going to kill your career or anything, unless you're really working for a psychopath, which to be fair is more common in the legal profession than most. I'm an attorney, and I just painted a pumpkin during the workday. I don't think OP's event was inherently a bad fit for a law firm. It sounds like OP's boss just didn't like it, but failed to communicate that appropriately. OP says, I'm just confused because I explained exactly what I was doing, because I needed to provide a budget breakdown and got approval, plus the assistants last year did a pumpkin painting event, so I just feel really blindsided. Well, that's where the psychopathy comes into play, I guess. I don't know what to say besides that lawyers are kind of notoriously awful to work for a lot of the time. One day, sure, let's paint pumpkins for Halloween. Then Halloween rolls around, and they're stressed, so they get pissed about the pumpkins. I work in a similar field as you, without giving so much away. Don't feel too bad about it. I didn't know too much about lawyers myself before coming into this business. However, coming in, I now know that they're kinda squares. Even as far as Halloween. Evidently, a few years back, we used to do more fun things in the office, and now it's all mostly phased out, from Halloween parties to even wearing a costume. I'm actually the only one here today wearing anything Halloween related. I'm also the youngest in my office, by a lot. Hang in there if this is what you want to do. At least you get to plan stuff. Hoping that I get that responsibility soon. Update. Hey everyone, thanks for all the encouragement and constructive criticism. To give a bit of context before the full update, 1. When I was tasked with planning the event, I did reach out to the girl who had this job before me. She's now in law school, and she said that they did pumpkin carving last year, so I pivoted to painting to change it up a bit and decrease on mess. I also added the mystery coffee pot and decorating the office as a fun little thing. 2. I did get the partner's approval before planning the whole event because I had to budget everything out with a proposal. So she knew about it, but she likely A. forgot about the thing until she saw me decorating, or B. didn't think I was serious. She was also upset because our sister office went out for drinks the day before, and she wanted to impress our new partner, who was sick and couldn't even attend. 3. For everyone who said that the Charlie Brown special was juvenile, I agree. But I was going to play the movie for the back half of the event. It was an hour because it was mentioned to me that another partner was bringing their daughter, 5 female, who was visiting internationally. But my boss thought that I would have planned a happy hour afterwards or something. I didn't do so. Anyways, I went through with the party, and it all went really well. I ended up not buying any alcohol and just went through with the pumpkin painting over some Halloween music, candy, and fresh baked cookies, and some warm apple cider. The people who partook in the mystery coffee pods liked their flavors for the most part. Haha, the trick. As for the event, not everyone in the office showed up, including boss, but about 75% did. About 3 others were in costume, and they all had a decent time. The 5-year-old also had a good time decorating cookies and watching Charlie Brown while waiting for her dad. All in all, I think I'll leave the adult party planning to my slightly older coworker. She's the social butterfly of the office. But I'm just glad that today wasn't a disaster. In the comments, Sir Wiggles the Lesser says, "They tell a kid fresh out of college to put an office party together? What do they expect? They should appreciate cute, campy Halloween shit. It's Halloween! Goths hold the line. It's candy time, not pretentious cocktail hour. Tut-tut, I say." And the person reached out to see what they did last year, so she did something based on that, which makes complete sense to me. Seriously, boss is lucky OP didn't misjudge the other way and start laying out beer pong cups. I work in the legal world. Boss probably would have preferred that. Drinking is a big thing to especially older male attorneys. Okay, I'll bite. How do people in AA deal with working in that world? I'm not in Alcoholics Anonymous, but alcohol, man. I am king of getting pressured into drinking when I don't want to, ordering a beer, drinking half of it, and leaving it laying around. Alcohol just comes with so much trouble attached to it. The risk-reward isn't worth it to me. How do people like me function in that world? Avli Wee says, "With the added context that there was going to be an actual child present, I don't understand what the fuss was. None of these activities sound boring to me, an adult, and all of them sound like they would engage a 5-year-old. Nothing worse than bored kids in your office." I worked for a law firm once, and every single event involves drinking. After work or lunch meeting, drinks. Halloween, all the different areas, personal injury, etc., set up themed areas in their office and have snacks and shots available. Christmas, office Christmas tree decorating party with someone's famous spiced eggnog. There's so much drinking at some, all, I don't know, this one for sure though, law firms, that it's insane. Honestly, on par with a culture when I bartended. It's the kind of culture where you're not just allowed to drink, you're expected to drink. Sounds like a nice little office party to me. Not every gathering of adults has to involve drinking, especially in a professional setting. I imagine there would have been some people uninterested in going out for happy hour, and with a profession where a slip in the decorum could really affect someone's reputation. Also, nothing stopping the people that did want to hit the bar afterwards from doing so. Alcohol/alcoholism is huge in US legal culture, to the point where my friend in law school attended a seminar about the issue of alcoholism rates among the profession, with an open bar afterwards. I feel like people in this thread don't understand how much lawyers and hard partying go hand in hand. My former best friend didn't spend a day sober her first 3 years in law. They drank every single night after work, they took big clients out for drinks and to strip clubs. We can drink in strip clubs where I'm from, and their bosses and mentors would take them out for lunch and brunch with drinks whenever they needed to talk for any reason. If they can't get drunk or do coke, it's not fun to them. Our next post is by user HotWolverine7330, titled, "Am I the asshole for kicking my son and his girlfriend out?" This situation has had me a bit confused, so one of my neighbors suggested that I post here. I, 55 female, have 2 children, George, 31 male, and Gabrielle, 29 female. Gabrielle recently got engaged, and I'm helping her plan the wedding in my spare time, which the entire family is excited for, except for George. George recently divorced his wife of 7 years, Susanna, 28 female, after he said that the spark had gone out. They had a set of twins together, Amy and Alice, 6 female, and are trying to set up a healthy co-parenting relationship. Susanna is a great mother to my grandkids, and I was disappointed in George for giving up so fast on their relationship without even trying couples counseling, but it wasn't my business or place to say anything. The drama started when George brought his new girlfriend to dinner at my house. He met his girlfriend Bethany, 25 female, through a work colleague, and they've been dating for 4 months. At dinner, Gabrielle and I were discussing flower arrangements, and Bethany felt the need to ask George if he'd ever marry again. George coughed before replying that he'd have to think about it, which Bethany seemed to deflate at. Well, this caused Alice to cry about how she wants Mummy and Daddy to love each other again. George and Bethany just sat there while my granddaughter screamed. After I comforted Alice, I pulled George aside and asked if he was sure about Bethany, which he told me was none of my business. I told him it was my business who he invited into my home and my grandchildren's lives, since I've been caring for them in my spare time while he works. He and Susanna have 50-50 custody. George got angry and said that it was Gabrielle's fault for mentioning weddings in the first place. I told him to stop acting like a child and to be happy for his sister, and then Bethany felt the need to insert herself and tell me that she and George were together no matter how much I liked his ex-wife. After that, I was done with the conversation and I asked them both to leave. George and Bethany stormed off, flipped me the bird, and left my grandchildren at my house at 7 p.m. I had to call Susanna to collect the children since they had school in the morning, and I was attending a cake tasting with Gabrielle the next day. I feel like I shouldn't have to tell my 31-year-old son to be happy for his sister or argue with a random woman whom I've never met before, in my own home. So am I the asshole? Oh, Christ, that is so messy. What's wrong with these people? Can't you just be normal, well-adjusted human beings that aren't psychos? I don't feel like I'm qualified to answer how those two should approach their relationship, but I also do think I'm qualified to say their behavior was out of pocket and they shouldn't have done that around the family. So they're assholes for doing that. OP is not an asshole for trying to straighten things out. In the comments, someone says, George needs to pay for daycare for a while. And OP says, the truth is George can't afford daycare with the child support and alimony that he owes Susanna. I agreed to babysit my grandchildren as a favor to him. I love my grandkids, but I wish George would appreciate the thousands of dollars I'm saving him each month. Someone else says, just quit watching them and he'll come crawling back. And OP says, I would if I thought he could afford it. We might disagree, but I don't want my son to be homeless. Maybe they need to rethink the custody agreement if he can't care for them. OP says, if Susanna took on more custody, then George would owe her more child support, which he's already struggling to afford. Plus, it would mean that Susanna would have to work part-time hours, which really isn't an option in her industry. Alice needs counseling. OP says, my husband and I have suggested that George pay for her to get some counseling, but he keeps saying that he needs to save and can't afford it. What exactly were you asking when you asked if he was sure about Bethany? OP says, I was asking if it was really the right time to introduce her to the family since his daughters are still sensitive about the divorce and are trying to come to terms with it. I didn't ask him in the context of, is Bethany right for you? I meant it as in, are you sure this is the right time to introduce her? I didn't inherently dislike Bethany, but maybe it would have been better to introduce her to my grandkids after they've recovered from the divorce. Did George ask if he could bring Bethany beforehand? OP says, George asked me if Bethany could come 20 minutes before he was supposed to arrive, so it's not like I could say no at that point. Update. I didn't expect this post to gain so much attention, and I want to thank everyone who gave their honest opinions and helpful suggestions. This situation happened a few hours ago, and I thought it was right to make an update. Bethany came to my house to apologize for how she acted at dinner last week. She told me that she was 2 months pregnant, and George had broken up with her after she told him, because he has too much responsibility and didn't want to be in the baby's life. I then spent the better part of 3 hours talking with Bethany about the baby and what she wants. She says she wants to keep the baby even if George refuses to be in its life, and I told her that I would help with childcare if she needs it, since she doesn't have any family that lives nearby. Before I got angry with George, I thought I'd call him and give him a chance to explain. George was angry that Bethany had shown up at my house and insisted that it wasn't his baby. I told him that he should get a paternity test, and he asked me for $500 to cover it since he's struggling. I told George that he needs to figure it out himself since he's about to be a father of 3 and that he better step up and do right by his kids. George then hung up. Well, 2 hours later, I get a call from Susanna to say that George hadn't picked up the kids like he'd previously agreed to, and could she drop them at my place because she had to work. I agreed for her to drop Amy and Dallas off, and I tried to call George again. I called 12 times, and they all went through to voice message. I don't know where George is, and I've called his place of employment to try and find out. However, they refuse to tell me anything. I've agreed to watch Amy and Alice until Wednesday, and Susanna has reported this incident to CPS. I assume she plans to file for full custody, and I can't blame her. Right now, I'm worried that George has run off somewhere or done something irresponsible. I'm disgusted and will not be doing him any favors in the future unless he has a very good explanation and accepts some responsibility. This was hard to write, but felt good to get off my chest. Thank you everyone for responding to my first post. In the comments, someone says, "Hey OP, you're disappointed in your son for giving up on his marriage so easily, and I'll bet dollars to donuts that you and your daughter-in-law have been telling her twins that mummy and daddy are getting back together. I bet you asked your granddaughter to say something like that to help daddy realize that it would make everyone happy. You need to butt out of your children's personal lives. Get a damn hobby." OP says, "You owe me quite a few donuts then, since you're dead wrong. I'll poke my nose in my son's business when he's being an irresponsible parent and not taking accountability for his children. Bethany is pregnant. It's his time to have the twins, and he is nowhere to be found. It just proves to me that I should have made his personal life even more of my business." Someone else says, "Alice caused drama, and you exacerbated it by asking about Bethany." OP says, "Alex is 6 years old. She hardly meant to cause drama, as you put it. She's a 6-year-old little girl who doesn't understand why her parents no longer live together. I never asked George if he was sure about Bethany in the context of, is she the one? I meant it in the context of, is he sure that he's making the right choice to introduce her to the family so soon, since his own daughter clearly isn't ready to think of her dad marrying someone else yet. I don't care who George ends up dating, but he has children to think about, and my granddaughters need to come before any random woman he's been seeing for 4 months." Captain Borg says, "They've been dating for 4 months and she's already pregnant, and his dumbass introduces her to his little kids? Jesus effing Christ, George." Absolutely 99.99999% chance they've been dating for over 4 months. That's just the timeline that George is giving. Yeah, that was my thought too after reading the divorce, was because the spark went out. Guess he's finding out the grass isn't always greener. George bringing a woman he's been dating for 4 months to meet his 6-year-old daughters says a lot about him. Add on the fact that he's refusing to have anything to do with his latest child, and he looks even worse. I thought Bethany was an idiot for her comment at dinner, but the fact that she's pregnant puts it in a new light. Still the wrong thing to ask him in public, but at least she apologized to OP. I wondered how long they were really dating. 4 months seems a little soon when you know your partner is mostly freshly divorced, no? The fact that Bethany got snarky and acted like she won something made me wonder the same thing. While losing the spark is something that happens, it is also what people say when they don't want others to know about the cheating. It's either that, or she is a hard rebound, and he's showing off the younger woman that he was able to nab. And that's where I'm going to end today's episode, guys. I do hope you enjoyed. If you did, let me know what you thought of it in the comments down below, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.